Welcome back to Brownlow Books, and I guess it's story time. This is how I went from basically reading no books to how I am now. It's how I came back to reading. Because when I was a kid, I fucking devoured books. Like, there was always books in my house. When I started getting a little older, I was like reading my parents' encyclopedia downstairs for fun. Like, I remember the first 3 books I ever picked up when I was just, slightly older and probably still not should be reading these were Jaws. What's the Go Ask Alice. And Murderer's Fen, which is like a British murder mystery kind of thing where a guy kills his wife, okay? Like, 10-year-old me should not have been reading these things. But she was, because at that point, I couldn't get to the library by myself. Nor was my mom taking me anymore. Nor were my friends around that I used to go with. They had, moved away. We had stopped being friends, whatever. So I was not to the library, and there was no money to buy books. Like, buying books was a very foreign concept to me. It was like, you get, 5 books, and that's all you get. Like, you have to go to the library for everything else. Like, it was ridiculous how many books I consumed and then just went to fucking nothing. And I can pinpoint all kinds of little things throughout my life that have made me not read. And so how I went from the most voracious childhood reader to barely reading a book for fun. I read a lot of books during my time at university, and 3 of them were for fun, maybe. 'Twas a lot. Even during the summer, I was not reading them, and I was allowed to read them at work. It was busy. It was easier to do it when I had that job in the winter as well. Anyways, my 2017 Goodreads says I didn't read any books. I think it's possible that I just maybe wasn't using Goodreads at the time, but I do have a book recorded in 2015, and I think I signed up in God, when did Goodreads start? It's probably when I signed up. I want to say I was at least 2010. I know I was on Goodreads, at least at that point. I have to have been. So yes, this would be the not so short anymore story of how I came back to reading. And 2018 has 6 books. And 2019 has 44 books. Yeah. There is a dumpster being delivered to the building behind my house. I hope you cannot hear that when they're done. Okay, we're gonna move on. In 2018, one of my friends said, "Hey, do you girls want to start a book club?" So, me and my friend and my other friend and my other friend, and I think one of their friends at that point, we started with 4 or 5 of us, started a little book club. We would rotate turns who was picking the book randomly. We randomized an order and we went with that. You could pick any book you wanted. At the beginning, you could pick any book you wanted. So yeah, it was just us. We'd read the book. Sometimes it would be a month. Sometimes it'd be 2. We'd go out for dinner or lunch or coffees, a couple of times breakfast, and we would just talk about the book. And so I read 6 books that year. And when I look at my list from that year, they are all books that were picked for book club. Every last one of them. All 6. And, it went well. And people would join us. I think the most we had at one point was 7. Friends of friends, would join us. And some of them would be like, "Oh, I don't have time. I can't do this. I'm moving," whatever. And they would out of the book club. But the core 4 of us that started and our best friends remain in the club, and we've added people, and we've never removed someone. They remove themselves because they just can't keep up with it anymore for whatever reason. So we've had, I don't know, 4 or 5 people who have come and gone. And the reason my friend wanted to do it was because she wanted to read more as well. She wanted to read things different from everything that she was picking up. She's very much like a horror thriller person at that point. Very fantasy, like... They are beeping the fuck out there. Sorry. Distracted. Yeah, very, very horror fantasy, thriller, paranormal kind of stuff was what she was into at that point. And I was very much not. She took pity on me. Her first pick was The Hobbit. And just, we all wanted to read more. And we all wanted to read different stuff that we might not pick up ourselves. And it was good to, like, get other things on your radar and learn what you really like if you hadn't been reading for a while, which none of us really had. And so it was just nice. It was nice. So that's how, 6 books in 2018, 44 in 2019, and then 73 in 2020. And 70 in 2021 because we were still in lockdown in this area very much. But yeah, 44, 42, 50 are like my other years, and I feel like that's probably around where I will end up sticking, my number. But it was just... My friends brought me back to reading. A thing I loved when I was a kid. And why am I crying? So yeah, there's 5 of us in book club right now. Some of my best friends. And we operate a little differently now. There's some different rules. Because someone picked a 700-page book once. This was not the core group of us. This was someone who's left. She picked a 700-page book that was the first in a series that was some of the most god-awful shit any of us had ever read. So we instituted a rule that it has to be under 500 pages. We've gotten like 498. We've gotten like 512. Like, we can go in that area. It's just no 700 pieces of garbage, We try to do our research on our own book to make sure that we know the triggers before we go in, so we can warn the friends what the triggers may be if we've seen them. Currently, we have a list. The 5 of us did 4 picks each. I put them on a spinny wheel app to pick. And that's a poor choice when you're doing 1 a month, because it takes fucking forever to get through them. So once we're through this, we have about around 7. We're in the area of 7 books left from this list. So once that's over, I'm going to propose we each pick a book, get through those 5, and then do it again. Because your tastes change. We picked the list 2 years ago. 2 years ago! 2! Like, 5 of us picking 4 books each is 20 fucking books. Right? So, that takes a while when you're a 1 book a month book club. This guy is getting a second dumpster delivered. Oh my god, okay. It's gonna be loud behind my house, I feel like. So yeah, like, if you want, I can do a whole video of how our book club works, but I feel like I just kind of explained it. Before the pandemic, as I said, we got together and we would go to a restaurant, go for coffee, whatever. We didn't really do anything in 2020. So yeah, those 73, those are mostly me. There's like 3 maybe book club books in that. Yeah, 2020, we were like the rest of the world going, when is this over? How is it still going? They said 2 weeks, didn't they? And 5 months later, you're just like, So yeah, 2020 we didn't really do anything, but then in 2021 we started to do online in Discord. Video or not, your choice. I mean, there's only 5. No, my friend was still 5 of us at that point, and so like it worked. 'Twas easy, but in the warmer months, since we are in Canada, in the warmer months we have not been going out. Some of us have still been anxious. Some of us are still anxious. So we have been meeting in my backyard because I have a nice big backyard, big shady tree, big like fabric awning that like keeps us out of the sun, etc. Whatever. So we meet on like Sunday afternoons because that works for all of us, or morning sometimes, a little earlier if we've got plans that day. And we just talk about the book, and like we don't do anything specific with it. We just talk about it, like what we liked, what we didn't like. And someone will be like, oh, I loved this. I loved how this like paralleled with this. And they're like, oh, I didn't get that. And like explain how they saw it differently, kind of thing. Like when we were talking about Rosemary's Baby, the whole issue of Guy, and it was like, was Guy complicit, or was Guy kind of like brainwashed, gaslit too? Like, you know? We just discuss it. We don't be like, oh, we have a prompt of like this specific thing we have to talk about. We have to do all this kind of like pointing out of the alliteration and all the hyperbole and the foreshadowing and whatever else we can pick out of the book that like you have to do it like it's a school project. I don't think I finished any book that I had to finish in school, to be honest. A few. Did a few. I love The Alchemist, not gonna lie. I've read Siddhartha twice. I read A Prayer for Owen Meany the first time. Did not read it the second time. I was like, bitch, I've read that book and I don't want to do it again. I have an irrational hate for that book. Shakespeare. I'm not a huge Shakespeare person, but people are like, Shakespeare. And I'm like, it's fine. I'm to the point of rambling now, but I hope you've got an idea of like how my book club works and how it truly was my friends that got me back into reading. Like, bless their little fucking hearts, because like, look at me. Look at me. Thanks for hanging out. I don't know how to end this. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you around next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of this charming goblin.